The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views and positions of the agency.
Welcome to DYCD Next Gen. I'm your host, Ryan Cooks. Our monthly podcast will feature the very latest on everything DYCD has to offer, and we will go right to the heart of the story, speaking to young people about the issues they face in their daily lives. We are now in the month of June, and this month we are celebrating Pride Month. I'm joined here today by my guests Ronald, Porcelli, and Mason Moore, as we will be discussing the SYEP Pride program and its importance. Ronald and Mason, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Before we get started, could you guys just introduce yourselves to the audience and let them know who you are and what is it that you do?
You want to go first?
Yeah, sure, I can go. So my name is Mason. I'm entering my senior year of university at Worcester Polytechnic Institute up in Massachusetts. I grew up here in New York, and I'm super interested in video games. I'm studying game design, and yeah, that's who I am.
And I'm Ronald Porcelli. I am director of the NYC Unity Project. I'm part of the Mayor's Office of Equity and Racial Justice. I'll share a little bit about the Unity Project later, and a little bit about my background is that I studied law and policy.
All right, thank you so much for that, guys. Just to give some background information on SYEP Pride, it seeks to connect young New Yorkers to supportive and welcoming early career opportunities by engaging with employers specifically committed to LGBTQ plus youth through their organizational missions and or employee resource groups. Youth who opt into Pride are matched to employers who have committed to inclusivity, commitment, and integration of the work to the program. Past SYEP Pride partners have included employers such as the Stonewall Inn, Equality New York, the Caribbean Equality Project, SL Green, and many other companies and organizations across a variety of industries in NYC. So, Ronald, my first question to you is, can you tell us a bit about the NYC Uni Project and your role within the Mayor's Office of Racial Equity and Justice? And how do you work with DYCD's SYEP Pride as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So the NYC Unity Project is the city's LGBTQ plus hub. We are part of the Mayor's Office of Equity and Racial Justice. We work across city agencies to develop programs and services for LGBTQ plus people. Our focus is the entire community, but we have a particular focus on LGBTQ plus youth, people of color, and the TGNCMB community. We work in three main buckets, one that we'll be talking a lot about today, economic mobility, but then also health equity and acceptance and anti-discrimination. The role with SYEP Pride. So the NYC Unity Project and DYCD started SYEP Pride together. This was a mutual collaboration between both of our agencies, and ever since then, we've been continuing to grow and review the program. I'll share more about that collaboration later today, but this really was a great synergy between DYCD and then the NYC Unity Project to deliver LGBTQ plus economic mobility programming.
What are some of the barriers that LGBTQ plus youth, especially youth of color, face in early career and workforce settings?
Yeah, that is a great question. So it is hard, I think, in any career. I think it's hard starting a career. It was challenging for me, and it's challenging regardless of your identity. But when you're part of the LGBTQ plus community, and then additionally when you're part of the LGBTQ plus youth, and then also LGBTQ plus person of color, you face a number of different barriers. You're coming in, you're facing all the normal workplace challenges, but then you're also facing a number of identity-related challenges. So that can stem all the way from discrimination to being isolated and left out of the workplace. And it's why a program like SYEP Pride works to address a lot of those challenges, works to train people, works to help them understand what the law is and their obligations as employers, and so on and so forth, so that we don't have these sorts of statistics. The statistics are pretty bad for LGBTQ plus youth entering the workplace. I won't rattle them off, but those youth face a lot of challenges, and a lot of that is isolation, And then a lot of it is really they're navigating their own identity and they're building out their own identity, which is something that is never easy. And it's happening at the same time that they're building their professional identity. So this is sort of a on-ramp to address some of those challenges and to ease LGBTQ plus youth into a work environment.
How does SYEP Pride ensure that both young people and employers are matched in a way that truly supports LGBTQ plus inclusion?
Yeah, so I love that question. We do so much with the employers, whether it is career exploration, whether it is trainings, whether it is a living classroom component, and I can go through a little bit of them. I think we might talk a little bit about trainings later on, but this career exploration is so important. There's a number of different companies that are very committed to including the LGBTQ plus community, creating an inclusive, affirming environment. So we've been able to work with many different companies. It would be impossible to list them all, but Disney Theatrical Group, Louis Vuitton, ABC7 News, related real estate, Nordstrom, I'm probably forgetting some, Hermes, Fendi, and so I'll stop there. But these companies and many different companies are committed to creating a diverse workplace, committed to recruiting talent, and LGBTQ plus people are a growing force within the economy, and many of these companies are powerhouses in the private sector. We see areas like tech, technology, fashion, and so many others that are growing. And it's why we've been able to do great work in the field of entertainment. We've been able to partner with Google, and we had LGBTQ plus youth partner with their LGBTQ plus ERG group at Google to understand what a day in the life is like there, to understand what the job entails, and then to understand how it is bringing your identity into the workplace. Ultimately, all of these experiences have given the young people a chance to connect with LGBTQ plus mentors and LGBTQ plus leaders. And I can't think of anything more valuable to see someone that is in similar shoes as you and how they've been able to not only make it, but navigate challenges and failures at the same time.
Could you talk about the types of training or resources that the NYC Uni Project provides to SYEP providers and worksite supervisors?
Definitely. So I think there's three main components here. We have a Work It NYC guide. That is a very comprehensive guide that we partnered with DYCD to create. It's 150 pages long, so it's definitely very comprehensive. At the same time, we have a training that sort of demystifies that guide. So that guide is a very helpful resource for people if they want to check out a particular section, if they're interested in a particular area, if they need more information. The guide is a very comprehensive manual. Then we have our training that sort of breaks that down into a variety of different core components. So one of those is vocabulary, and then a big one is law, and then I think probably the most important one is practice. You might be a LGBTQ plus young person in the workplace, but you're still a young person. Your identity is one component of who you are. And so really educating employers on these sorts of interactions, how to build that affirming environment, and then the core of it, which is creating a workplace that supports young people. This is often the launch of many people's careers. And so it's important that it's a great gateway to a long professional career that is ultimately fulfilling. So that practice component is probably the most important one. And we spend a lot of time there where we think about different ways that it's unexpected, but oftentimes people might have strange questions or, odd comments and things like that. And so really teaching people on leaving some of those things out of the workplace where it is appropriate, where it's not appropriate. And ultimately, at the end of the day, having people understand that these are young people like any young person. We shouldn't make any sort of offensive comments around young people, et cetera, et cetera. So the grounding is in the law, it is in the practice, and then it is in the overall mission and vision, which is offering these sort of opportunities that open doorways to the youth in the future. And we partner with the City Commission on Human Rights, CCHR. They provide a number of trainings. One of that is a focus on the city human rights law and its application in employment, and then likewise its application to various classes, including sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression. And so that really has employers understand what their obligations are. It demystifies it. And ultimately, a lot of people leave these trainings thinking, yeah, this is very common sense. Of course, I shouldn't do X, Y, and Z. And so it is a very helpful reminder. And it's also a reminder of the sensitivity of young people coming in and how this is very much first impression for them, these sorts of work environments.
And I'm very curious myself. Are there any success stories or outcomes from past years that really highlight the impact of this initiative?
Yes, and I'll try not to be too long-winded with this, but there are a number of success stories. So every year we review the program and we get user feedback. The testimonies have been really great, and it's very fulfilling to know that this has made a big difference in the lives of young people, both from their LGBTQ plus identity, but also from their career and their professional growth. So that is so incredible to see. We also see all the areas that the youth want us to expand in. And so we constantly try to grow the programming that we do. Our partners, as I mentioned before, have been absolutely instrumental. This is very much a public-private partnership that we have going on here. And so we really have a fantastic coalition of different, not only SYEP providers, but all the people that offer this sort of classroom enrichment, living classroom, we call it. So I'll give you an example. We've partnered every year with the Stonewall Inn, and that gives the youth an opportunity to visit the inn, to hear from the owners, and to learn about LGBTQ plus history. I think knowing that history is so important for the youth. It's so important for, I think, anyone, and it really grounds the historic place that New York City has in the LGBTQ plus rights movement. And so that's one example. We've partnered with the American LGBTQ plus History Museum. We've partnered with the LGBT Historic Sites Project, and that sort of enrichment, it brings the youth together. It allows them to meet other people from the community, and it allows them to ground themselves in this sort of context in history. And then likewise, I went into some detail on our partners, but it's been incredibly successful to host these sort of career exploration and learning. The youth have been able to go to ABC7 News multiple times. They have been absolutely fantastic and dedicated, and learn about what it is to work in the media and the news cycle. They've also had various practical components where they're able to learn from a reporter how to do live interviews and then practice those sorts of interviews. And then we've also, I mentioned Google, but with many of our different partners in the fashion industry, they get a sort of behind the scenes look on how many of these industries are very multifaceted. There's people with different backgrounds from every sort of professional sector that you can imagine, and how a lot of these large companies bring together very, very diverse groups to make this sort of magic happen. And then talking about making the magic happen with Disney Theatrical Group, every year we've been able to do panels with them where they're able to bring a lot of the talent from their shows. So we have had panel discussions with Broadway Aladdin's Genie. The next year we heard from Broadway Aladdin's Jafar. And it's really a great opportunity to explore industries like entertainment that many people are interested in, but it's not necessarily easy to break into those sort of fields. So hearing that sort of inside scoop is absolutely invaluable. And it really also inspires people. And I think that is one of the greatest components of SYEP Pride, is that sort of inspiration that it gives people.
Wow, that's incredible. It's amazing. So Mason, could you tell us a bit about your SYEP experience last summer? Where were you working and what were you working on?
Yeah, of course. So last summer I was working with LGBTVC. So this is a nonprofit venture capital firm. And their mission is to uplift LGBTQ youth And in order to get them into places in finance and business that, we're not seeing them in as much, and to really close that gap. And so my job title while we were there on the work site was entrepreneur in residence. So we had a big focus on entrepreneurship, having an entrepreneurial mindset and what that means. And through the course of the summer, me and my colleagues, we each worked on business plans and business ideas that we would like to start. And we were really encouraged to follow our passions with this. When we were going to these other events and doing this kind of career exploration that Ronald mentioned, we saw what we liked, and we decided, where could we possibly get a business idea out of this, right? And what would the business model look like? Where would the profits come from? What would the expenses be? And it was incredibly educational, and inspired me to possibly start my own business in video game design in the future, which I'd really love to do.
Okay,
So, yeah.
wow, that's cool. Yeah, video games. So you're like a big gamer.
Yes, I am. So as I mentioned, I'm studying game design.
Right.
I'm on the art side, so I do 3D graphics. I also do 2D a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I came in knowing that this was like my passion. I was already kind of attending college for this. And I think sometimes with SYEP, we come in not knowing what to expect, but it was such a pleasant surprise, as it is every year, that you can really apply anything you do to what your passion is, right? And so there is a lot of room for exploration in this program. And so we had other people. One of my colleagues was studying, I'm losing it right now, but social work, yeah. And they were passionate about making sure that young women had access to, childcare information, especially women of color. And so part of their business plan was, okay, well, I'm going to make an app that can, get all of this information to someone, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we had, completely different fields, and we came in and were able to work on this. So I'm really appreciative for that experience. Yeah.
Good for y'all. Good for y'all. How did your internship and SYEP Pride overall support your journey in finding your identity and career development?
Yeah, so I think what's nice about SYEP Pride is it's removing barriers is kind of the main thing. So it's really hard sometimes to get your foot in the door as a young person, period, but especially as a queer young person. Whether it can be discrimination either in hiring or in the workplace that make that really difficult. And SYEP gives you an opportunity to, really find yourself easily. And so something that really helped me there, I was, with that freedom, I was able to find my voice, really. So we were given kind of the instruction to advocate for yourself. And that's something that's really important for queer people. And we were able to practice that. So when we attended events that Ronald mentioned, we were doing networking, doing career advancement, and, practicing public speaking and practicing advocating for ourselves and being out there, which if you were to do that without a program like this, there's risks to that as a queer person. And what this program does is it removes a lot of those risks and gives you the rewards for that. So, I learned that I was actually pretty good at public speaking, which I did not know beforehand. So
that's dope.
Yeah.
And this is a question that goes out to both of you. If you could speak directly to a young LGBTQ plus New Yorker considering SYEP Pride, what would you say to them?
You want to take it first?
Okay, yeah, I can start first. So the main thing is it's what you put into it. That's what you're going to get out. So this program for all people, and especially queer people, it is opening doors. So you're getting the opportunity to walk into these spaces, these companies, TikTok, Snapchat, Louis Vuitton, bunch of different places where you can meet people, network, and meet people who will be, open to your identity. But you can only walk through those doors yourself. They're open for you, but it's really about the work that you put in. So, taking every opportunity you can, just seeing what's out there. Don't hold yourself in. That's the main advice that I could give.
Yeah, I have similar advice. I think it's very much, and this is applicable to so many things, I like to think of it as build your own adventure. So you can really come in and customize your experience. And I think ultimately the best way to customize it is to take advantage of everything. All of these sorts of events are extremely enriching. All the sorts of technical trainings around career development, resume writing, etc. Across the board, from SYEP to SYEP Pride specific activations, take advantage of everything that you possibly can. It's the best way to have a very enriching summer, a very enriching chance to just explore different industries. Once you're actually in the in your career, it's a little bit more challenging to jump. And so having that understanding from the very beginning, exploring and asking people that are in their careers how they got into them, how they navigated them, and also important, not just how they navigated the good stuff, but how they overcame challenges and failures, etc. I think that is absolutely important. And then take advantage of the opportunity, and that a lot of people want to help and a lot of people are seeking out fresh talent. So keep those contacts, network. Ultimately, like anything, it's what you put into it. And I think that, even if it's not your first job, keeping in contact with folks, it might be your second job, it might be your third job. And it very well might be your first job. So having that sort of connection is absolutely important. So again, build your own adventure. I would say build it well, and take advantage of this program and all of the opportunities, especially the networking ones. And lastly, ask good questions. You definitely want your questions answered. And the folks that are part of these programs, they don't do a panel just to hear themselves talk. They want to interact, and ultimately they're trying to give back to people.
Yeah. And if I could interject, I think that for a participant who's interested in maybe doing SYEP Pride, it maybe seems a little overwhelming because there are many prongs to this and many potential benefits. So for one, you're working at a work site, you can add something to your resume. Right. Two, you might be attending events and networking and all of these different things. And that can be an overwhelming idea, and I'll ask questions. But it's quite simple when you're in, be engaged, right? Like, what's nice about SYEP Pride is this is training, right? So for things like your financial, like personal finance, how to manage the money that you're going to make, for things like networking, how do you keep in contact? These are things you're going to learn while you're there. So, the opportunities and the doors that you're going to open, you have to step through them, but through doing the program and just being present, then you'll have the ability to do that for sure.
And one last thing I would add. So we just had our SYEP Pride orientation. And so I was so happy to see all the youth that attended that orientation, that learned more about SYEP Pride, that were able to hear from a great guest speaker, incredible panelists, to learn about their rights in the workplace. So that is a great example. And then another one, we're putting out an SYEP Pride toolkit. Take advantage of that. Peruse the different resources that are there, learn, reach out, ask follow-up questions. So it really is, I love the expression, a summer of learning, and it really is a summer of learning. Taking advantage of it, you're doing your career, but SYEP Pride is the perfect time to learn and explore. If folks are interested, we're happy to partner across the board. So small mom and pop shops, large companies. I encourage you to reach out to DYCD, the Employee Partnership Unit. Also, the NYC Unity Project, our contact page has a partnership section that you can fill out. And then for the wider LGBTQ plus community, especially LGBTQ plus youth, I encourage you to check out the NYC Unity Project website. It's nyc.gov/Unity Project. There we have updates and news on the Unity Project. And then we also have a government services directory, so you can see all the different services across agencies, including DYCD. And then lastly, we have a community resource guide. And that guide has resources for legal support, food assistance, housing and shelter, mental health, physical health, peer and family support. So check it out and check out the different community organizations that are listed there. I think it is a really valuable tool for people, and I hope that people avail themselves of it.
Yeah, I think for my last word, I'd like to shout out Jackson Block, the co-founder of LGBTVC. I had a great experience with him last year, and yeah, definitely check out LGBTVC and the events that they have going on. I believe they recently opened a shared workspace where you can have networking events, and yeah.
And that concludes today's discussion. For more information on DYCD, check out nyc.gov/DYCD, or be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, X, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Join us again next month for another episode of DYCD Next Gen. Once again, I'm your host, Ryan Cooks. Thank you for listening, and thank you guys for participating today. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.